Hi there, Irit here with a process video, and this one is particularly exciting because it's for a guest post on Wilna Furstenberg's blog, and I love Wilna and everything that she does, so I'm very excited to be on her blog. And I'm using her gorgeous illustrations that you can find on her website, and I decided to use my one true love, I think, with mixed media, which is watercolors. So I'm using watercolor paper here, and yeah, I'm going to show you a really fun technique, a technique that I hope to master better in the future, or to get better at myself, because I haven't done this a lot. So it's really, really simple in this on this layout. And yeah, it's just beautiful. Well, watercolors are just beautiful. So my first layer is going to be just adding some color. I'm choosing colors that coordinate with Wilna's beautiful illustrations, and this way I know everything coordinates. And because the illustrations are so beautiful and rich, and my background is going to be lovely, soft, pretty watercolors, I am not going to add, I'm hardly going to add anything besides my photo and my journaling. So that's the great thing about having some really beautiful pieces to use on your layouts. The watercolor set I'm using is from Winsor & Newton. It's their student grade paint, which is called Cotman. I was very curious. I would usually tell you that my favorites are artist grade watercolors, just because you can't compete with the quality. But I am very impressed with this set. This set contains all the colors of their student grade range. So there are 40 colors, and you get 5 extra of what they consider the most used colors. So I think you get ultramarine, 2 of those, 2 crimson, 2 yellow ochre, I think, 2 blacks and 2 whites in the set. So in total 45 half pans. And I gotta say, you can see there the colors. I made this laminated chart of the colors. I think it's a really great set. I have to say I'm very impressed with the intensity of the colors. So just a side note, if because I always get questions about what set I'm using. I was just curious about these ones because it's quite affordable and you get a lot of colors. So my first layer is completely dry, and you want to do that. You want to let it completely dry so you can add more defined shapes. If you don't let it dry, then anything you'll add will just flow because the area is wet. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a technique that I really hope to use more in the future, just because I also don't feel so comfortable with it because I don't do it often. It's called negative painting, and it's basically you're not painting the shape, but you're painting around the shape. And in this case, I'm just doing very, very simple leafy shapes. So you can see I'm just kind of drawing the borders, and then I'm pulling the paint out right there, right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm kind of pulling it out and adding water as I go along, because you don't want to have just this line around your shape. So it's a really, really fun technique, and it's used a lot by watercolor artists. I am far from it. I'm a scrapbooker that enjoys to play with mixed media, and yeah, I think the effect is really, really beautiful. So I did that with a couple of these leafy shapes, and now I'm going to try this with a little flower. And yeah, it's just really fun to play with pretty watercolors. So what I wanted to scrapbook here is the illustration that I'm using says bloom where you are planted, and I'm using a picture of my daughter, and it just made me think about where we planted her. which is in Austria. I'm not originally from here, and yeah, we just decided. So this is not the country where I grew up, and I had quite a different experience, I think, in my childhood. Well, different in some ways, and then similar in other ways. But it's just, different language, different culture, different surrounding. I grew up in a small city, and now my daughter grows up in the countryside. So yeah, I wanted to journal about that. That's kind of what popped into my mind when I saw the wording on the illustration. So yeah, back to what I'm doing. I'm just adding a little bit, some more detail, and just adding a little bit of salt. I think I did that a bit too late. You can only get the salt effect if you add it on wet watercolor. So now I decided I wanted to add just a little bit of something, and I'm using this beautiful, like a solid stamp of these leaves, and this is from Altenew, from one of their floral sets. And what I'm doing is I'm using distress ink, and I ink my stamp and then I spray it lightly with water, and that gives me more of a watercolor look. And I used that. It's one of my favorite shades. It's one of the new shades they introduced in 2015. It's the cracked pistachio one. It's a beautiful color. And so I used that one, and also then I used on the next stamping, I added just a little bit of yellow to create some green when it mixed with the cracked pistachio. And yeah, that's it. I'm not going to, what I also did in the background, I'm not sure you can see it here, but right below that flower that I stamped, there are some drops, some splatters, and I also did that inspired by Wilna and all her beautiful paint drops. Sorry about my head, it's just trying to line things up there. So I just dropped some white acrylic paint, and yeah, I think in the close-up shots maybe you can see it. It's a subtle effect, but it adds a really nice splatters all over the paper. I really like that. So I was too chicken to write my journaling right on my beautiful background. So what I did is I printed it on my computer. I wrote it on my computer, and then I printed it on a piece of transparency, just a regular inkjet transparency, and I cut it to size, and you can see just adhered it below my photo. So very simple, very clean design, but because of the flowy background and the beautiful illustrations, I think the layout ends up looking very rich and pretty. So yeah, thanks for watching this, and have a lovely day. Bye bye.